Caleb stirred. His head pounded with a dull ache. Sand clung to his face and clothes. He lay on a beach, the surf gently lapping at his feet. Above him the sky was not the familiar blue, but a deep, unsettling purple. He sat up, his gaze sweeping the unfamiliar landscape. He remembered a storm, the howling wind and crashing waves, the splintering wood of a ship. Then nothing. He was shipwrecked, alone. He struggled to his feet, his legs shaky beneath him. The island stretched before him, a tapestry of lush green vegetation and rocky hills. The air hung heavy and humid, filled with the cries of unseen birds and the rustling of leaves. Fear gnawed at his insides. He was a stranger in a strange land, with no memory of who he was or how he came to be there. Caleb stumbled along the beach, his eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of life, any hint of civilization. But there was nothing. Only the endless expanse of the purple sky and the rhythmic crashing of the waves. The silence was broken only by the sound of his own ragged breathing and the beating of his own heart. He was utterly and completely alone. Despair threatened to engulf him, but he pushed it back. He had to survive. He had to find food, shelter, some sign of life. With a newfound determination, Caleb turned from the sea and ventured into the dense, unknown heart of the island. His journey had just begun. The island was a symphony of strange and wonderful things. Towering trees, unlike any he had ever seen, stretched towards the purple sky. Their leaves were a riot of colour, shimmering with an almost iridescent glow. Vivid flowers bloomed in profusion, their petals painted in hues that seemed to defy nature. The air was thick with the scent of unknown blooms, sweet and cloying. But there was an unsettling beauty to it all. The animals that crossed his path were equally strange. In the trees, creatures with iridescent scales and feathery wings flitted through the branches. On the ground, insects the size of his hand crawled through the undergrowth, their carapaces shimmering with an otherworldly light. Caleb had never seen anything like it. And then there was the sea. The water was a deep indigo, almost black in places. The waves that crashed upon the shore whispered secrets in a language he couldn't understand. It was as if the island itself was alive, watching him, judging him. Caleb couldn't shake the feeling that he was being followed. Every rustle of leaves, every cry of a bird sent a shiver down his spine. He would turn, expecting to see someone or something watching him, but there was never anything there. Was it just his imagination, or was there something else on the island with him? Something that preferred to stay hidden. Days turned into weeks. Caleb slowly adapted to his strange new reality. He learned which plants were safe to eat and which were poisonous. He built himself a crude shelter from branches and leaves, a meager defense against the elements. He spent his days exploring the island, searching for any sign of civilization, any clue as to where he was and how he got there. He found solace in the routine of survival. He would wake with the dawn and search for food. He would spend the heat of the day in the shade of the giant trees, listening to the whispers of the wind and the cries of the strange birds. As the sun began to set, he would return to his shelter, eat his meager meal, and try to sleep. But sleep was a fickle companion. His dreams were haunted by fragmented memories, the storm, the ship, a face he couldn't quite place, and always there was the feeling of being watched. It was as if the island itself was aware of his presence, its unseen eyes following his every move. Despite his fear and loneliness, Caleb felt a strange connection to the island. It was as if the very air he breathed, the very ground he walked on, held some deep, unspoken significance. He was an outsider, a castaway, yet he felt strangely drawn to this place, as if it held the key to his forgotten past. One day, deep in the heart of the island, Caleb stumbled upon a clearing. In the center stood a monolith, a towering structure of smooth black stone. It was ancient, its surface weathered by countless years of wind and rain. Strange symbols were etched into its surface, symbols that seemed to writhe and shift before his eyes. He felt an inexplicable pull towards the monolith. As he drew closer, the air crackled with an unseen energy. He reached out a trembling hand and touched the cold, smooth surface of the stone. A jolt of energy surged through him, throwing him backwards onto the ground. When he opened his eyes, he was bombarded by visions. He saw a civilization unlike any he had ever imagined, a people who lived in harmony with the island, who worshipped it as a god. He saw them performing strange rituals, their bodies painted with the same symbols that adorned the monolith. He saw them wielding a power that seemed to emanate from the island itself, a power that flowed through them like a living thing. And then, just as suddenly, the visions were gone. Caleb lay on the ground, his heart pounding in his chest. He felt weak, drained, but his mind was ablaze with the images he had seen. He knew with a certainty that defied explanation that the island was more than just a place. It was a being of immense power, a being that had chosen to reveal itself to him. The visions from the monolith continued to haunt Caleb. He returned to the clearing again and again, drawn to the strange power of the ancient stone. Each time he touched it, he learned more about the island and its history. He pieced together the story of a civilization that had lived and thrived on the island millennia ago. They were a people of the sea, skilled navigators and explorers. They had discovered the island by chance, drawn to its shores by a strange and powerful energy. They believed the island to be a sacred place, a source of great power, and they dedicated their lives to worshipping it. The island, in turn, had bestowed upon them a portion of its power. They learned to harness the island's energy, to heal the sick, and to control the very elements. They built a civilization that was both advanced and harmonious, living in balance with the natural world. But their power came at a cost. The island demanded obedience, loyalty. It tested them, pushing them to their limits. Those who proved themselves worthy were rewarded with knowledge and power. Those who failed, well, Caleb didn't know what happened to them, but he had a feeling it wasn't pleasant. As the days turned into weeks, Caleb felt a change within himself. The island was seeping into him, altering him. He could feel the energy of the island coursing through his veins, making him stronger, faster, more aware of his surroundings than he had ever been before. He discovered he could understand the whispers of the waves, the rustling of the leaves. They spoke to him of the island's past, of its power, of its desires. He could feel the island's presence all around him, watching him, testing him, molding him. One night, as he lay in his shelter, the island spoke to him directly. It was not a voice he heard with his ears, but a presence he felt in his mind. The island spoke of its loneliness, its longing for a companion, a guardian. It offered Caleb a choice: stay on the island, serve as its protector and wield its power as his own, or leave, take its secrets with him, and face the consequences. Caleb was torn. Part of him yearned for freedom, for the familiar comforts of civilization, but another part of him, a part that was growing stronger with each passing day, felt a deep connection to the island, a sense of responsibility for its well-being. The island had saved him, given him purpose. Could he turn his back on it now? Section 7. Trials and Tribulations. The island, sensing his hesitation, didn't make the decision easy. It began to test Caleb, presenting him with a series of challenges designed to push him to his limits, to reveal his true nature. He faced storms of unprecedented fury, the very earth shaking beneath his feet. He encountered creatures of nightmare, their bodies twisted and warped by the island's power. He was hunted through the dense jungles by creatures with eyes that glowed like embers in the darkness. He was forced to outwit predators that moved with a speed and agility that defied belief. He was tested physically, mentally, and emotionally, pushed to the very brink of his endurance, but through it all, Caleb persevered. He drew upon the island's power, the strength it had awakened within him. He learned to control the elements, to command the very plants and animals around him. He became one with the island, its champion, its defender. With each challenge he overcame, Caleb felt the island's approval. The whispers of the waves grew stronger, filled with pride and encouragement. The creatures of the island, once hostile and threatening, now regarded him with a strange reverence. He was no longer just a castaway, but a part of the island, its chosen guardian. Section 8. The Weight of Choice. As Caleb stood triumphant, the island presented him with its final test, a choice. It offered him 3 gifts, each more tempting than the last. The first was power, the ability to command the elements, to bend the very forces of nature to his will. He could be a god among men, his every whim a command. The second gift was knowledge. The island offered him access to its vast storehouse of wisdom, the accumulated knowledge of millennia. He could unlock the secrets of the universe, understand the mysteries of life and death, become the wisest being on Earth. The final gift was the simplest, yet perhaps the most tempting of all escape. The island offered to return him to the world he had come from, to restore his memories, to give him back the life that had been stolen from him. Each gift came at a price. Power would bind him to the island forever, its eternal guardian, its champion, its prisoner. Knowledge would come at the cost of his humanity, transforming him into something ancient and alien, forever cut off from the world of men. And escape. Escape meant abandoning the island to its fate, leaving it vulnerable to those who might seek to exploit its power. Section 9. A Guardian's Burden. Caleb stood before the monolith, his heart heavy with the weight of his decision. Each choice beckoned to him, promising a different future, a different destiny. He could feel the island's anticipation, its eagerness to know its fate. He closed his eyes, reaching deep within himself for an answer. He thought of the life he had left behind, the life he could no longer remember. He thought of the power that coursed through his veins, the knowledge that whispered at the edge of his mind. And he thought of the island, its beauty, its power, its loneliness. In that moment, Caleb understood. The island had not chosen him at random. It had chosen him because it saw something in him, a strength, a compassion, a willingness to sacrifice. It had chosen him to be its guardian, its protector, its shepherd. He opened his eyes, his gaze firm, his resolve unwavering. He would stay. He would embrace his destiny as the island's guardian, protecting it from those who would seek to exploit its power. He would honor the sacrifice of the civilization that had come before him, ensuring that their legacy lived on. Section 10. Into the Unknown. Caleb approached the monolith, placing his hand upon its cold, smooth surface. He could feel the island's power surging through him, stronger than ever before. He closed his eyes, surrendering himself to the island's embrace. When he opened his eyes again, the world had changed. The jungle around him seemed to vibrate with life, the air thrumming with unseen energy. The creatures of the island, once hidden in the shadows, now moved freely around him, their eyes filled with respect and a touch of awe. Caleb took a deep breath, the air tingling in his lungs. He could feel the island's power flowing through him, making him stronger, faster, more alive than he had ever felt before. He was no longer just a man. He was something more. He was the island's whisper, its champion, its protector, and he was ready to face whatever the future might hold. He turned from the monolith and strode into the heart of the island, his steps firm, his purpose clear. The island had whispered its secrets to him, and he had answered its call. He was home.